Drawing over watercolour.
Okay, we're going to explore the idea of drawing over the top of colour. So for this experimentation, having looked at the artist Sunga Park, she gave me an idea to perhaps use some tea or coffee. So this study that I created with the watercolour, I really liked the idea of drawing over the top of the colour. So this is what we're going to develop. So what I've done is I have created some nice dark brown tone using 1 big teaspoon of coffee and some boiling water, but then just to show you the difference, I've also made tea. So there's 2 tea bags and just a little bit of water in there. What you can do is you can use more cups and you can dilute the mixture so as you have several cups with different tones, or you can do what I'm going to do and you can use this as your base and then use water to dilute it on the page. So to get started, once you've got your tea or your coffee or both, I'm just going to have a little play and experiment with how to create tone. So I'm going to start with my coffee because I know that this is the darker tone. If I just show you, okay, so if I just apply that, and then what's really nice with working with tea and coffee is that you can apply more layers and you can darken it that way. So you can allow it to dry and then you can work over the top of it. Okay, and then you can use water. To create transparency, and then also making tone. And then the tea, obviously it's a different shade as well, but the tea is a lot paler. Now I probably could use more tea bags, or I could more tea bags, or I can just allow that to dry and then work over the top of it. But you can see it's a lot more transparent. And then just going to use the water. So the coffee's probably got a better effect. Okay, right, so let's get started. I'm going to put that to one side and allow that to dry. And I'm going to work on A5 paper today. And for the first piece, I'm going to just create a random coloured surface ready to draw over the top. So I'm just going to start with the coffee and I'm just going to apply the coffee sort of randomly, but also considering the fact that I've got this whole surface to use, the whole page to use, the whole A5 sheet. You might drip some on, you might apply some water over the top. I'm just going to fill up that whole space like that. Okay, so I've got some areas with darker tone, some areas with lighter tone. I'm happy with that. I'm going to allow that to dry, and then later on I'm going to have a go at drawing over the top of it. Okay, for my second piece, this time I'm going to be a little bit more considered as to where I place the tea, where I place the tonal elements. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to use a light box for this. Now please don't worry if you haven't got a light box. So alternatively, if you don't have a light box, you can draw out the you can sketch it out first, sketch out your building or whatever it is you're drawing, and then once you've done that you can then fill in the gaps and then draw back over the top of that. I'm using a light box just to show you. If I put my image underneath, this is a nice way of working, and what I'm actually going to do this time is be, like I say, a lot more considered as to where I apply the different tones. So I'm going to start with my dark tones. Again, I'm using the coffee because I know that's going to give me a really dark, sort of grainy tone. And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to use this brush. These sort of chiseled, or they're not chiseled, straight edge brushes are really nice to work with any sort of straight edges of your buildings if you're creating some very sort of straight edged buildings. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to apply it, apply the coffee where, I'll start with the light tone actually. Let's go with a lighter tone. I'm actually going to use both tea and coffee this time. And I'm just drawing or painting over the top of what I see. So, and again, this does not have to be perfect. Okay, and then I'm going to apply the darker tones. You can allow that to dry first if you're worried about them blending, but I'm quite happy for them to blend. Okay, once you're happy with that, remove your photograph and you can see that we've used a variety of different tones. If you feel like you could add more tonal variation, add some more. Put those to one side to dry. Here's some that I've made earlier. They're dry and ready for me to draw over the top. Okay, so what I'm going to do to show you, I'm going to use a fine liner pen and I'm just going to show you how you can create your drawing over the top of your background. For this exercise, you can choose what you use, what medium. I'm going to use fine liner to start, but you can use charcoal, you can use coloured pens, you can use colouring pencils or anything really that you feel that you need to experiment with. I'm going to start with fine liners and I'm going to use my more randomly placed, my tea abstract piece. And I'm just going to get started with drawing my building over the top. I'm going to start with this broad fine liner pen just to pick out some of the details of the building. Again, I'm not going to draw absolutely perfectly straight lines and I'm going to keep it quite loose, but depending on the way that you work, please do go ahead and draw in your style. And I'm just going to have a go now at just drawing the outline of my building and trying to sort of ignore the tea stains which are underneath it. Okay, once you've finished with adding detail and line to your drawing, you might then want to add some darker tones and apply those over the top, layer those over the top of anywhere that you think needs some darker tones. And remember to build layers, so this might be something like a process where you allow that to dry and then work back into it at a later date. Okay, once you're happy with that, you can set that aside and return to it at a later date to add more layers if you want to. I'm going to move on now to my tea stain piece, where I was a little bit more considerate to the object that I intended on painting over the top. So I have my castle here. I'm going to use a light box again. Again, if you do not have a light box or access to any kind of sort of light box, you can work freehand. That's absolutely fine. Again, you can use fine liners over the top of your tea background or any other medium. I'm going to use pencil to show you how that would work. And I'm just going to start with adding some sketching over the top of my darkest tones. I will use the cross hatching technique, the hatching technique, and just build up some of those areas. Okay, I'm happy with that. You need to be careful not to cover up too much of the tea element. So there we have it, my pen and my pencil sketch over a tea or coffee background.